Hey fellas, well, I'd say I'm about three-quarters of the way through with my spoiler review of Space Jam: A New Legacy. I'm on other videos I'm working on. That's because that's going to be one of the big ones I want to have done before or mid-August. So to close out this month, I would do something like simple, but still has a lot of stuff I can talk about here, like another movie trailer vlog. I'll talk about four releases that I'm keeping an eye on, one way or another. So let's get this started. First, my belated thoughts on the Suicide Squad's Rain trailer, which is like I think one of the second major ones I put out on several full, which details more of the existing characters as well as the new ones, such as Bloodsport. And even though like the plot point, which is in this movie about him supposedly hospitalizing Superman with kryptonite bullets, that James Gunn tweeted he had a comic story arc where that plot point comes from. So at least there it checks out. So, but I've been a big fan of Idris Elba's acting for a long time, so I'm excited to see how that turns out, and we can add him to the list of actors from both DC and Marvel related productions. I mean, and so, and on top of having Joel Kinnaman's Rick Flag, Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn, and Jai Courtney's Candy Boomerang return, as well as like Viola Davis and Amanda Waller, who, apart from um not being as big as a comic character, is still every bit as someone you do not want to trifle with. I mean, this using like the last movie as a yardstick. I'm gonna do the extended edition of the previous movie from 5 years back before I go see this one. So I am very much on board with the Iyer cut. I mean, again, if they filmed enough footage of the last movie to make at least 7 different cuts of it, so like with Justice League, I think the matter definitely would be like assembling it, I mean, and if they did it, I would watch it. So there's that. Okay, so the Menace in Newark, October 1st. So basically, that they're are moving that a week. I mean, this is going to be a prequel all to The Sopranos, which on top of having Michael Gandolfini, similarly James Gandolfini, he, it's going to be detailing like a young, young heroes rise to power in Gangland, and 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 young Tony Soprano. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. And has David Chase returning to direct. I mean, among one other alumni of other gangster films such as Ray Liotta. Uh, we have other actors I really enjoy in this film, such as Corey Stoll involved. Also, they put together a very fantastic cast. Hopefully, it lives up to who the legacy of the show, which may not have been the first one to really show prestige TV as a format, but it definitely popularized the as well as like HBO's potential of it. And for those who were disappointed in the Game of Thrones finale, I can definitely sympathize by remembering the infamous Fade to Black ending, and regrettably, any chance of finding out what it might have happened after that, especially die with Gandalfini the Elder. I mean, so, but I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on this movie. I mean, I don't know if I'll be seeing it right away, but I definitely think it has a lot of potential going for it. So, Dune trailer 2, who is definitely a a another one I'm keeping an eye on. It's while initially they were considering like moving the release date again, or just keeping like the actual exclusivity as opposed to like the simultaneous release on HBO Max for the first month. Neither has happened, and so far it's still on track for October 22nd, and 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 both theatrically and at home. Which, even though I'm not sure what to think about some of these suits, I'll definitely keep an eye on them. But on paper, at least, I think this business model is actually a sound like a mixture of like the old guard and the new blood combined. I mean, depending on what you prefer, and even though they have made some changes to the cast, at least in terms of background, in terms of how they're written. Looks like it should be much more faithful to the original book by Frank Herbert, which is something of a a seminal science fiction work. And but at the same time, given how the last Wing 1984, despite having a cult following nowadays, we're seeing something of a divisive flop in its time. As I was saying, the original book basically was in many respects targeting a similar audience in its time. That's not like a song by and Fire does now. So that seems to be targeting that similar audience now. How with this new adaptation and that's and even with Blade Runner 2049's performance, the film was still highly acclaimed upon its audience at home. It's clear that Disney still has a good working relationship with the studio and is going to capture both the cerebral and the spectacular side of science fiction. I think they're making the right call to try and purely target the whole the core audience of the novel, rather than trying to shotgun it into a four-quadrant blockbuster, which is the fatal flaw of the last movie. And even the director, David Lynch, was so displeased with the result, he actually had his name taken off the extended cut, certainly without him. But I'm glad that for all the film's faults, at least got me into that director and the book. So there's that. So maybe much like his Dark Materials TV series fared better than Lost Planet stream series for here, maybe enough time has passed, the audiences really need to forgive if them and give the franchise another chance. And it's could just treat that one like 1978 Lord of the Rings movie, and the Jackson trilogy is proof that enough time has passed, the audience will give people another chance, man. And so the only question remains, is it going to be like a sort of like a Guardians of the Galaxy level hit or a John Carter level disappointment? Only time will tell, especially given how they're already filming both parts at the same time due to the size of the novel itself. Pirates of the Caribbean style, which is what they did with it, as well as the final Harry Potter novel. So there we go. Last but definitely not least, the second trailer for Ghostbusters Afterlife finally dropped. After all this time, it's now that it was actually filmed before a time long ago in 2019. It was going to come out last year before everything happened. Let's just say that I ain't afraid of ghosts, but the variants are another story. All joking aside, I maybe feel multiple emotions, given how they're really going all to pay tribute to the late Harold Ramis. And even though how the original potential way to do a third main movie eventually died with him, many elements. And it's much like in that video game that came out, I don't know, nice rematched how to play it again. And I can tell you've been using this script, namely the original team surviving members are going to pass the torch to new generation of Ghostbusters, which is a concept always kind of light. And as for the last movie, which I pointed out at the time, I thought people were overreacting to, and I still, to an extent, do. It's good. I guess they're just putting that one into continuity. But to be fair, for everyone that was acting in that way about it, I think I encountered more people that were just not on board with the vegetarian material. But still, and of course, I have a lot of extra legs, such as Finn Wolfhard, as well as Paul Rudd being among the new members, and Jason Reitman, who's normally known for offbeat comedies like Juno and Thank You for Smoking, is taking his first attempt at a bit budget action piece like his father did. Definitely doing his best to live up to his dad's legacy. And of course, the Mini Puffs. It's a miniaturized versions of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, who, as that screenshot I took of his thumbnail, seemed to have no qualms roasting and cannibalizing each other. So Yeah, and more recent one definitely looks like they arranged a Grogu who from Mandalorian, or at the very least, a young Sonic. So I could definitely see this working, and given how it's coming out Veterans Day weekend, which is a good, not only a good movie going day, but also a good way to pay tribute to others. There's, I think it's definitely, in a way, kind of fitting it's coming out that time frame. So I hope it all goes well from here, and I'm definitely doing my best to stay safe. I mean, so I also encourage others to do the same. So that'll be all for now. I'll definitely get back to work on that bit later, especially Pokemon Sun movie vlog, as well as among other big videos, including my spoiler Space Jam and Legacy. So later.